Hello and welcome to Just in Time Worlds, where we delve into the art of world building. Today, I am busy preparing for a really important language exam I have. But I did take time out this week to watch a series on Netflix called Blue Eye Samurai. And it was so amazing that what started out as watching one episode, because a friend had recommended it to me, ended up being my whole Monday night because I just clicked one episode after the other and watched the entire series straight through. So today, I want to share with you my thoughts on Blue Eye Samurai, its world building, its thematic elements, and why it was so absolutely captivating to me. If you enjoy this kind of content, do consider subscribing. And let's talk about Blue Eye Samurai. Just fair warning, I will absolutely be spoiling this series. There is no way of preventing it. You are going to be spoiled if you watch this and you have not seen the series. So if you have not seen the series, I highly recommend that you dodge off, go see that, and come back to this video once you have. Okay. Let's get going. Blue Eye Samurai is set in 17th century Japan during the Edo period, a time characterized by isolationism and a very strict social order. And the story predominantly revolves around Mizu, who is a mixed-race, blue-eyed Ronin on a quest for revenge. It is set against a backdrop of political intrigue and cultural clashes, which we will dive into more deeply. But first, I want to just set the historical context for the world-building element that the series creators drew on. So the Edo period, also known as the Tokugawa era, lasted over 250 years. It is marked by economic growth, cultural development, and the Sakoku policy of national isolationism. So the series creators did have that correctly. The shogunate, the Tokugawa shogunate, did implement a policy of isolationism predominantly against the Dutch and the Chinese in order to keep Japan culturally pure. This was very much a driving force during that period of Japan's history, and during the Meiji era, this policy was reversed. Blue Eye Samurai leans very heavily into this closed border principle, and they put it that any child born of mixed race or anyone who is seen as white is seen as like a white devil, and the borders of Japan are closed to them, and a mixed race is then considered to be half a demon. And our protagonist, Mizu, the Blue Eye Samurai, is of mixed race. Okay, so let's talk about the characters and the journeys that they go on. So Mizu is an incredibly complex protagonist. She grapples with her mixed race heritage in this very xenophobic society. And as a child, she encounters bullies, and this drives her to want to better herself, and it ignites in her a flame of vengeance, not against her culture, but against the white devil who put this into her, who made her so foreign to her own people. And as such, she conceives of this vengeance that she wants to drive, where she will hunt down the 4 known white men who were in Japan or were allowed around Japan during her conception period. So essentially her father. She's on a quest to hunt down her father. Okay, and she is our protagonist. She is driving the story forward. Her journey delves into themes of identity and revenge, as well as gender roles. Now, she does hide her gender. She presents as a man because she was told as a child that there are people looking for a girl of mixed race, and so she must always appear to be a boy. Which is not to say that she's trans. I don't think that is at all what the showrunners were going for. It is simply a disguise that she dons. Then we have Ringo, who is a handless cook who joins Mizu. He embodies goodness and moral clarity in the narrative. What I really enjoyed about Ringo is that they delved into his desires as a person. Yes, he is handless and he was born this way, but that doesn't define him. He is defined by his innate sense of goodness and his desire to be the best at something, even if that something is cooking noodles. And he really, to me, embodies a foil to Mizu, which is the role that he plays. Then we have Taigen, who is a samurai who has humble beginnings, and he plays a very significant role in Mizu's journey. He was one of the children who bullied her as a child. He grows up to be a samurai, and then he encounters her again. He loses a duel to her, and he strives to battle against her and get his honor back. And they actually go on a journey of becoming friends. And then Taigen has the same realization that Ringo does. Mizu is so driven by her desire for vengeance that she cannot move past that. She cannot do anything for anybody else if it's going to negatively impact her drive for vengeance. And because he sees that damage in her, he starts following a different path, which takes him down a different angle. Then we have Akemi, who is a rebellious princess. She is, at the beginning, we meet her when she argues with her father that she should be allowed to marry Taigen, our samurai. Then after he loses his duel, her father says she can't marry him any longer. And she runs away and has all kinds of adventures that takes her on her character arc. Now, Akemi's character arc explores themes of feminine power and their role in a feudal society like Japan's during the Tokugawa era, during the Edo time period. So those are all of our protagonists. Then our antagonist, our villain of the piece, is Fowler, who is an Irish smuggler and inventor who is brilliantly voiced by Kenneth Branagh. And he adds a layer of political intrigue to the plot. He is very definitively a bad guy. He is absolutely a bad guy. And they had to make him so absolutely a bad guy because Mizu is such a dark hero. If the viewer had sympathy towards Fowler, it would be too easy to lose the sympathy that you have for Mizu because Mizu's actions are so dark. But because the person that she is opposing is Fowler, who is terrible, horrifying human being. So I think it's very important that when you have such a dark hero as Mizu is, and Mizu is very, very dark, she does some very, very, very shaky things. And then it is very important that you have such an equally dark villain. So these are our main characters. We also have some support cast, the most notable of which is Mizu's sword father and mentor, who takes her in as a child and guides her in both the making of swords and helps her to, or at least allows her to learn sword fighting by studying the sword techniques of those people who come to his forge in order to have swords made. So the way that he makes swords is these people demonstrate their sword techniques. Mizu then gets to watch them and practices their sword techniques. So he is a very strong mentor figure in Mizu's life and provides an example of both honor and somebody who accepts her. He is, however, blind, so he can't see her blue eyes, but I think it is clear to me, at least, from what he says, that he both knows she is a woman and knows that, or a girl when he, mentors her, and knows that she is mixed race, because he will say things like, it is the impurities in a blade that make it stronger. You don't want it to be 100% pure blades that are 100% pure break, which is a very kind of clear reference to Mizo herself. Okay, so that is our cast of characters. This series excels at exploring themes like honor and justice and the clash of tradition versus modernity and the implications of revenge. Mizu goes on this journey of vengeance with absolute dedication. When she encounters Ringo, he looks up to her as a samurai and he wants her to teach him. She tries to warn him that she's not a samurai, that he shouldn't follow her. But he insists on following her because he sees this vision of her as an honor-bound samurai. And when he finally realizes that Mizu will pursue vengeance even above and over the good of everybody else, like she will pursue it even if it means harming other people who are just innocent bystanders. To him, that is too much. And he tells her, you are no samurai. And what is great about the series is they don't just go at that point and say, okay, Mizu now has a transformational moment. No. She says, I told you I wasn't a samurai. And she continues with her quest, leaving Ringo behind. And she then breaks into Fowler's castle, which is fantastically done. There's this whole kind of video game feeling to it, and it's fantastic. Like the whole sequence of getting into the castle is great. And when she reaches, and then inside the castle, she once again encounters Taigen, who has been taken captive by Fowler's people. And here we can start seeing Ringo's words have an effect on Mizu as she then feels that, she starts to think about rescuing Taigen, and she takes him up into the castle with her. And then when they fight against Fowler, it's clear that Taigen isn't going to survive it. And then she has a turning point and she rescues Taigen instead of trying to take her revenge. Okay, cool. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about Akemi and her journey. So Akemi has run away from home in order to follow Taigen, in order to help him get his honor back so that he can marry her, because after he lost his duel, her father wouldn't let her marry him anymore. And she goes on a massive journey. So she meets some ladies of negotiable affection. She plays a role in a brothel. She's trying to drive this whole thing of becoming, her own woman and taking power and getting to marry Taigen. And then she helps Mizu defeat an entire army. And then when soldiers come to take Akemi away, she appeals to Mizu for help. And Mizu says, no, take her. She's nothing to me, basically. And that was the breaking point for Ringo. That was where Ringo had his realization that actually this isn't legit. But for Akemi, she's now dragged back to Edo to marry the shogun's second son. And the journey that she undertakes from this point forward is one that really focuses on the choices that women have in this kind of very constrained society and what it means to be able to exercise power as a woman in these societies. And nothing more clearly illustrates the character journey that Akemi goes through as when her future mother-in-law presents her with these really epically disgusting foods, which culminates in serving her a bird. Now, the thing about this bird is she was given a gift of a songbird in a cage. She lets the songbird out, it flies away. For a moment, it's all like bird escaping the cage happiness. And then Akemi's husband shoots the bird. And the bird drops dead to the ground. And it is that bird that her mother-in-law serves to her at the table, and basically she can't not eat it without losing face. And that is the point where you see Akemi start to embrace the role she can play and the power that she can exercise, and she eats the bird. This then is later followed up with additional choices that she makes. But let's leave her there for the moment and return to Mizu and Taigen. So They've escaped from the castle. Ringo hauls them out of the ocean and takes them to the Swordmaster's place, where he has, found traction in the way that anime sometimes do. They've got some kind of weird time compression going on there. Don't worry too much about it. Don't fuss about the time in anime. Okay, so they get back to the Swordmaster's place. They come awake, and after way too long, Mizu tells Taigen that Fowler plans on attacking the shogun with guns, with an army equipped with guns. Taigen is very angry with Mizu because she should have told him earlier, and they should be helping the shogun because Taigen is all about the honor. And Mizu's like, she doesn't care about the shogun, and this is for Taigen the realization, of course, that Mizu is completely driven by vengeance. And Taigen goes off to Edo. Also, he knows that Akemi is there because Mizu tells him that too. So Taigen's going there to try and warn the emperor, or the shogun, sorry. And then back with Mizu, she tries to reforge a sword. That failed. She has a long conversation with her sword father. Then she successfully makes some ore, but here we see a moment of real character growth where she chooses not to make a sword, where she says she will go and face Fowler. And she does. It is a very striking moment of character growth as Mizu realizes she doesn't need this pure weapon. What she needs is herself, and she needs to accept herself. She needs to accept who she is in this quest for vengeance. Then we come to the climactic finale. Everything comes together. Now, Fowler's army is equipped with guns, and they cut through the samurai army, as you would expect, guns to cut through bows and arrows and swords. I will say that I did here have like a moment of looking at those muskets and being like, my dudes, you are very accurate with those guns. But that was my one quibble I had with it. I was like, I don't know if muskets were that accurate. But, I'm not a musket expert. I don't know how accurate they could have been. And it didn't break my immersion in the story, so good enough. We reach the point where Taigen is confronted with the shogun and the shogun's family, and he helps rescue them. Ringo is with him. They're all helping the shogun. Akemi escapes with the help of Mizu, so she's heading out of Edo. And Mizu herself finds Fowler. And she beats Fowler, and as she's about to kill him, he says to her, he basically sells her on the idea of keeping him alive because he knows who potentially her father could be. He knows the other people who were in Japan, and he knows a place called London, which is where these people presumably are. At least that's what he sells Mizu on. Which basically sets up season 2 because the two of them go sailing off to London with Fowler in chains and Mizu standing on the ship, the deck of the ship. But going back to Akemi and Taigen, this is the part of the story that really hit hard for me. So Akemi has made it out. Taigen finds her out there, and Akemi's mentor has died in the process of saving her. And Taigen says to her, run away with me, elope with me, be free with me. And he's like, he says to her, I don't want power, which has been a driving force for him. He's been trying to escape his origins. He wants power and prestige and acknowledgement. And then now at the end of his journey, he's like, I no longer care about those things. And she looks him in the eye and says, but I do. And she turns away from him and returns to the shogun's family and her husband, because her journey has been about a realization of the power that a woman can play, or the power that a woman can wield by embracing the role that is available to her. Instead of being like a girl boss or a warrior, kind of the way that Mizu is. So they explore that option as well, like breaking the gender roles and being that kind of powerful, feminine fighting figure. In Akemi's case, she embraces a different path, playing the path that society expects her, but using that path to wield her own power, which is a very strong thematic exploration that I really appreciated. For me, Mishu's quest really is a challenging question on right and wrong and the moral complexities of her world, because she's a very dark hero, and yet you are still rooting for her. You do still feel for her. And that also, for me, showcases the driving force of revenge and how it can damage you as a person to give in to it. From a visual and audio perspective, the animation is fantastic. It is absolutely great. And then the score, the music that they use is just, I mean, and there's one episode where they use For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is one of my favorite songs, and it was great to see it in this anime. I fully encourage you to watch the video on YouTube of it. If you haven't seen it, there is a clip of it. And also to watch the episode itself and the season itself on Netflix. The music is fantastic. I loved it. And visually, it is absolutely, the animation's fantastic. I will say it is gory. There is segs. It is off the charts on that perspective. So bear that in mind. I'm pretty sure it has an R rating, so, watch it like an R rating. Blue Eye Samurai, for me, stands out for its storytelling, its character development, and its thematic depth. If you like anime, even if you don't like anime, perhaps, if you have no strong opinions on anime, if you like nuanced and culturally rich narratives, absolutely go watch it. If you are a world builder interested in exploring those darker themes of vengeance and having dark heroes, go watch it. If you want to build a dark hero someday into your books, go watch it and see how they make Mizu relatable, despite the fact that her journey, her theme, and her starting point are all very, very dark. Have you watched it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments what you think, what you thought of my analysis. Did I miss anything, and what stood out to you? If you enjoyed this analysis, please do consider giving this video a super thanks. But you can also help the channel by checking out my thoughts on honor codes, which you can do on this screen right above me now. It really helps the channel when you click on these end screen elements. It reminds the algorithm that the channel exists. Please do consider clicky or clicky. And I will see you soon for another one.